and an extraordinary offer being made to Albanian migrants who have illegally come to Britain, and there are adverts, literally adverts on TikTok, which may help them stay. To talk about this extraordinary scheme, let's talk to former MEP and migration expert, barrister Steven Woolfe. Hello, Steven.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right. Now, what is being offered, you know, blatantly, shamelessly, adverts on TikTok by people smugglers, these are offers to Albanian migrants who've arrived here illegally in boats, have no doubt put in applications for asylum and all that like they do, no doubt saying they're victims of international modern slavery and so on, all the usual excuses. But one way of trying to improve your chances of staying here is if you could say you've got a wife and kids, and these people smugglers are offering Albanian migrants fake wives, fake children, fake families for £30,000, shamelessly advertised on TikTok. I mean, that shows how deep a hole we're in with this migrant crisis, isn't it? That they're advertising, you want to stay? 30 grand, we'll get you a wife, we'll get you some kids, that'll get you through the system. I mean, that's how bad things have come to, isn't it?
Oh, we're in a terrible state when it comes down to dealing with both illegal immigration and also the consequences of legal migration. But this is one of the most extraordinary stories that we've heard for some time, Kevin, really, when we're looking at what we've been talking about for nearly 2.5 years since the growth of the Channel migrant crossings have led to so many thousands come across. We've heard the stories of Albanian people smugglers offering 2 for 1. You and your wife can come and your children come free. This is now becoming such a marketplace for the illegal people smugglers that they are now being able to offer extended pricing packages to make sure that you stay here, because the Albanians have been identified as being not people that are fleeing war and torture, but are still coming over. And they are making thousands and leading to millions for these people smugglers. Absolutely extraordinary. Will the police do anything about it? Will they be following up the TikTok stories? I'm not absolutely certain that they will.
So more than a quarter of the nearly 46,000 migrants that came across the Channel last year were from Albania. Last time I checked, no war, no torture in Albania, so they have no right to be here. As I say, 30,000 quid, and they can stake their claims by saying, I've got a wife, I've got a kids, you know, they're here, so I can stay. But the problem here is that this is going on, you know, shamelessly, blatantly, and we're just standing by and letting it happen. I mean, you just alluded to it. I mean, what the authorities just sort of turn a blind eye to all this activity, don't they?
I think there's a combination of two things. I think, first of all, they're just overwhelmed with the amounts of people that have come over and all the new different scams that are here, because this moves away from just an idea of a Home Office asylum application. This moves into blatant criminality. So now there needs to be a very strong liaison between the Home Office and our police to be able to identify this. What I would also say is this going beyond just normal criminality. Is it a form of like economic terrorism that leads to the idea that you can actually bring as many people over here and not do it the proper way, but actually get huge amounts of money? If you think £30,000 is what they will pay, they've already paid £12,000 to get over here. How are they going to pay that back? In what way are they going to do that? And they only do that through either being bonded to these criminal gangs, or they have to go off and do criminality themselves. And that actually starts to undermine some of the fundamental principles of our society and becomes a danger. So the police and the Home Office really do need to link together to nip this in the bud. But will they? I just think they're overwhelmed.
Also, I always think that the whole migrant crisis is mischaracterised by the bien-pensant song Great and the Good, because what they say is evil people smugglers manipulating these poor migrants. Them poor migrants, they're just pawns in a game of chess by these evil people smugglers. Well, actually, if you're paying 10,000 quid or whatever it is to come across, maybe when you've come across another 30,000 to get yourself a wife or a husband and kids, I mean, the migrants are as much a part of this as the people smugglers. By just characterising people smugglers as the only bad guys in this doesn't get us anywhere. The migrants are culpable as well, aren't they?
Well, of course they are, because the culpability goes to the sense of them being able to know what the costs are and how they think that they can improve their lives from being in poor areas of Albania and saying, I can come over to the United Kingdom and improve it. I don't have a problem with the idea that they want to improve their lives. Who would? We all would want to do so. But actually what we're looking at is whether they're, in their own attempts to try and improve their lives, are they abusing a system that actually is aimed at those who are genuinely fleeing torture just because of its economic reasons. And I'm of the concept now that we need to have a reformation of the UN Refugees Convention, where all the countries come together, particularly those who are having to take the bulk of people from abroad. And that includes Pakistan and Iran, who take by far more asylum seekers than anybody else, and actually start to redefine what is a general asylum seeker and exclude economic migrants from this and have a process where you can say, if we think they're economic migrants, the failure of asylum removes them from any opportunity of claiming again, for example. These are ideas that should go out there.
Yeah, I don't think we get anywhere by pretending that every migrant is just sort of some innocent pawn in an evil game. They're not. They want to come here. They're part of the problem. And so just letting them off and saying it's all down to people smugglers, evil people smugglers. You can't say people smugglers without putting the word evil in front. That's what politicians do. And they're deluding themselves and us as to the extent of the problem. Talking of which, I want to get your comments on this, please, Stephen. Over the past 5 years, we, the people of Britain, through our taxes, have paid £42.2 million to nearly 1,700 people who sued for compensation because we took too long to process their deportations. I barely know where to start with that, but well, what do you think about that?
I know that, and this is why it's almost laughable, isn't it? This is why the people smugglers are actually laughing at us, why those who are involved in the processes of trying to delay claims laugh at the system, because all along the way, there are ways that you can just avoid being able to be deported, and then actually you can make money from not being deported. I just wonder if any of those were on the plane that was actually stopped by lots of protesters from being deported, were they able to claim money and say, I wasn't able to be removed?
Yeah.
And this is the farce of it all. We just have not got a smooth system in place where we can deport people straight away. And part of the problem of that, Kevin, is because of the types of individuals we're trying to remove. If we want to remove Iraqis and Iranians and Afghans, we don't have any return agreements with those countries. And we're not entitled to remove them back to Europe, not that we ever really were able to, even when we were members of the European Union. And so they can actually start making all these different types of claims. And that's the problem of having a legal aid system that actually doesn't recognise the difference between genuine and a kind of game-playing system that's played by some to get money out of the system.
Yeah, people need to realise that half of our problem in terms of our migrant crisis is down to the fact that Britain is the softest touch on the face of the earth with these people. You know, that not only do we let them stay, we have this massively higher percentage of people whose applications we accept than anywhere else in the world. And then if we take too long to process their applications, we're giving them compensation, millions of pounds compensation. It beggars belief, it really does. Let's talk, though, before you go, Stephen, about the migrant crisis generally. Not so long ago, you know, my old Rishi stood there in front of a lectern, stopped the boats. He only, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he said, my plan is working. My 5-point plan to stop the boats is working. We understand, no verification of this, but it strikes me as it rings true, that he was told he better get that announcement in fast because the weather's about to get nice and that will mean that the migrants will start pouring over. So he said that on a Thursday. And if you looked at the statistics going back for a couple of weeks, nobody had come across. Guess why? The weather was bad. Various people said, yeah, well, Rishi, the reason people haven't come across is because the wind has been blowing. There's been a few storms. Now the weather's going to get nice. Guess what? That weekend, something like 1,200 came over, and they're still pouring over. The weather is nice, and they are pouring over the channel right now. He's nowhere near stopping the boats, is he?
Oh, absolutely not. And I'm afraid that when we were first looking at this particular issue, where he made the announcement in January that it was one of his top 5 issues, that there was further announcements in February and March, the whole point was it wouldn't work unless, A, we managed to successfully get through the court case on Rwanda, and B, there were more planes being able to take people to Rwanda and or other countries. At the moment, all he's simply doing is reducing the numbers on the claimant list of asylums by agreeing more people can come, as you pointed out. So reducing the numbers by allowing more people to come without proper assessment. Just let's do the discretionary element to it. And we're not removing them from the country. We're not stopping them from leaving France. And we're then housing them in more accommodation, which may be cheaper, but we're still accepting the principle that there's lots more. And I think the figures I heard recently is that we've had more than 10,000 so far at this particular time of the year, which is more than we had last year. How many we knew came over last year? Are we heading towards 60,000 this year? I wouldn't be surprised if the weather continues to stay like this.
Absolutely. And we've got barges, we've got disused air bases, we've got derelict prisons all being renovated to put migrants in. And Rishi tells us that's saved us a fortune in terms of hotels. Trust me, I did this story this time last week. They are commandeering hotels right now, the length and breadth of this country. The barges, the air bases, it's just a smokescreen. It's optics. It doesn't really add up to a hill of beans. Good to talk to you, Stephen.